the first edition of Keep It Open or Close It Out.
Yeah.
It's our start-sit segment of the week here at the Fantasy Football Happy Hour Bar. And we are going to, as you see, the quarterback rushing yards per game here, Matthew. We're going to kick things off with Drake Maye, who was very efficient in this category last year. Before we get to it, though, let's hear how Drake Maye's feeling on his first Week 1 start of his career.
It's kind of like, back in the day playing basketball, kind of find a layup before you start shooting some threes. I think just whether it's a good run or, with the guys up front and the running backs or maybe easy completion. But other than that, I think it's just getting out there, and I think that's part of it. I think it's whether it's going to be kind of the jitters or going to be fired up. That's more of what it is, just to kind of calm that. And I think kind of use the guys around me as well. I think use the guys around me to kind of feel like, hey, if they're pumped up, I'm gonna get a little pumped up. But when I get out there, kind of be cool and calm and collected.
Yeah, very excited for Drake Maye's debut. Excited for him this year as well. By the way, he is the quarterback on Live at Noon on the Tube. I had to change the name. Right? Yeah, I had to rebrand it. But we're live at noon on the Tube. We're 5 o'clock on the cock, but it doesn't go the same way. So live at noon on the Tube.
5 o'clock on the cock is pretty good, though.
Yeah,
it's really
but we're not live at 5 on the cock. We're just on the cock.
Delayed on the cock.
Delayed
on the cock at 5.
Yeah, 12:05, and the show is beyond doomed. Disaster.
I apologize to America. All right, so we were talking about Drake Maye, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he's my
starting
quarterback.
him?
He's my quarterback. I'm starting him this week. I'm starting him with bells on, with my ankles exposed. I'm very excited about Drake Maye this season, and specifically in this game at home against the Raiders, per our friends at Pro Football Focus. No team has a worse ranked secondary heading into 2025 than the Las Vegas Raiders. This game is on the road at New England. Last year, Raiders bottom 5 in terms of touchdown passes allowed. Drake Maye was good last year, actually, very quietly, right? He scored 17 or more fantasy points in 60% of his completed games. So he actually scored fairly high when he was able to play the whole game. And that was on a team that honestly didn't use him in the run game at all. He had really very little designed runs that were called, right? And he didn't have a ton of weapons. This year, we've the addition of Stephon Diggs, Travion Henderson out of the backfield, another year of Pop Douglas. We'll see what we get out of Kayshon Boutte and Kyle Williams. But I feel better about the weapons around him. I feel a lot better about the coaching around him. Second year in the league for Drake Maye, who, as you saw that graphic when we started this, Connor, gets you points with his legs as well. Top 5 among quarterbacks in rushing yards per game. That's, again, without any designed runs, and I expect Josh McDaniels to use his legs quite a bit. And when you got to deal with Travion Henderson on the outside, that's going to open up some RPO stuff for Drake Maye.
And it's great that Stephon Diggs is going to play in this game as well. It only helps as Valiant Vincent, Drake Maye to the moon this season.
To the moon.
So just as excited as you, Matthew. What about you, Jay?
I think one thing in this matchup in particular is that if you haven't been paying super close attention, you might think, Raiders, solid defense, Max Crosby, they were pretty good a couple years ago. They don't have any cornerbacks. Eric
that's the big
Stokes
question.
is their cornerback one.
Yeah, the pass rush will be good.
Pass rush will be good, so I think it's going to be boom or bust. There should be explosives, and Maye, again, just the seminal player who lends himself well to fantasy. His rush.
Especially because, by the way, if he's getting pressure, then he has the wheels to turn and run and everything like that. So I'm definitely keeping it open. I think he's a borderline QB1 this week as well. Very excited about Drake Maye this season, but specifically this week.
How about Isiah Pacheco? This is obviously the Brazil game against the Chargers right now. And Matthew, the Chiefs' backfield has been a little difficult to figure out this early in the season, especially since Pacheco didn't look like himself when he came back from injury last year.
Yeah, it was tough. And this is the Brazil game on Friday night, so that adds another element of unknown to this as well. But listen, he had 5 touches in the preseason, got 51 yards. To me, just to the eye test, Connor, he looked that's the guy we remember from 2 years ago.
I agree. The offseason was really, really needed for him.
Yeah, and so think about last year, prior to the leg injury, weeks 1 and 2, he scored at least 15 fantasy points in both those games. He averaged over 20 touches a game. He had a 16% target share. And then the other question you ask about Isiah Pacheco, okay, is he back? Yes, it looks like in the preseason he's back. Okay, who's his competition? Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was it looked like he was running on fumes last year, Connor. And then you've got some of the other guys, some of the younger guys. I feel like Isiah Pacheco is going to get a big workload against a tough Chargers defense in Brazil. I think he's a high-end flex play this week.
Right.
But if I have Isiah Pacheco, I'm likely starting him. I don't know that you have better options in terms of teams a guy that you think will get in the end zone. As we've talked about, we think the Chiefs go scorched earth this year.
Yeah, one of the biggest line moves in the NFL in Week 1. The Chiefs, who are hovering on -2 range, is now pushed into 3, pushing towards 3.5, which I think makes more sense. I think they are a tier above the Chargers as a team. And yeah, if you want to be in on the idea of Patrick Mahomes getting back to 2022 MVP Patrick Mahomes form, then I think by extension, you have to be in on just this offense scoring a lot of points, and Pacheco should benefit. I still think with the uncertainty, like he's the only guy who's really got upside in the backfield, I think.
Yeah, Brashard Smith is probably a little bit of ways away. I wouldn't expect him to have a real role just yet. Ezra Nelson in the comments, Isiah Pacheco cost me a championship last year. Close it out. What do you think of taking biases from a previous season into a following season?
I get it. Fantasy football is an emotional game,
100%.
right? And there's definitely players where you're like, that guy burned me, never again, or that guy will always have a place in my heart forever and ever. Doesn't matter what else he does in his career. So I get the emotional piece of it, Ezra. And listen, we play this game for fun. So if you're like, you know what, I'm done with Pacheco, I get it. But we have to look at it objectively. And so appreciate you saying I'm keeping it open, Ezra. We'll see how it all plays out. But he's got kind of a snazzy dress there. He looks very sharp. He's got the glasses and the suit and the tie.
Yeah.
Kind of got a Clark Kent thing going in his profile picture.
Like a young Matthew Berry.
Like a young Matthew Berry.
Right. Very.
Yes. Yes. Ezra, let's see your ankles. Let's see your ankles.
Oh boy. Yeah, maybe not Ezra. Javonte Williams, our next running back on this list. Much different situation here, Matthew. The Eagles last year, they gave the second fewest fantasy points to running backs, and we just don't know if Javonte Williams is ever going to get back to pre-injury form, but Dallas looks like they're going to give him the chance, and volume-wise.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten, Jadon Blue is just coming off of, kind of a banged-up preseason here. You've got Miles Sanders as well. So I do think if you're betting on who's going to lead the Cowboys in touches in the backfield in Week 1, I think it's Javonte Williams. Here's the weird thing. I'm going to close it out for this week, but I actually think there might be value in Javonte Williams later in the season. Again, for people, like I have 2 drafts tonight. I know there are people still drafting tonight that are drafting this weekend as well. So I actually think that Javonte Williams, who's going way late in drafts, everyone just sort of hates Javonte Williams, which I kind of get. But I'm just saying, like, it's going to be a pretty good offense with a bad defense. They're going to be in scoring position often, and I do think that Javonte Williams will be the head of a bad running back. I like a late flyer on Jadon Blue, and once he gets up to speed, but there's probably some value in Javonte Williams early on, just not on Thursday night at Philadelphia. I'm closing it out on him. There's an implied team total of below 20 points. It's a bottom 5 on the slate. Like, I think the Eagles boat race them, Jay, in this particular game. He basically needs a ton of volume to be productive. We don't know. Dak hasn't really thrown to the running backs a ton in his career.
That's what matters most here.
Right,
yeah.
And so they just have such a good run defense, the Eagles do. And we expect, by the way, the Eagles to put up points on Dallas, so game script isn't looking to go in his favor either.
To your point about volume, DraftKings has his rushing attempts set at 10.5, backed under, and his rushing yards 38.5, receiving yards 12.5. He's like a 30% chance of scoring a touchdown. It's not great. It's not the worst that you can do in your flex, but at the same time, like, this is a very difficult matchup. The Eagles were the second most efficient rushing defense in the NFL last year. I think that has a chance to sustain. They might not be second again, but they will be a good rushing defense. So, yeah, I don't think you want to part of Javonte Williams.
Yeah, closing it out, he's going to be barely a top 40 running back for me this week. And I'll just say that, like, here in Week 1, where generally you don't have any bye issues, you should be more or less healthy, I just think you'd have to be pretty desperate in a pretty deep league to start Javonte Williams this week.
Julio, I think you are. How soon will Jadon Blue have meaningful snaps?
Julio, think you are one of the best screen names. We've talked to him before on the show.
Viewer.
Yeah, so Julio, good to see you. That's a question for you, Connor, in terms of Jadon Blue. Like, how pro-ready is he as a prospect? Obviously, a lot of explosiveness, but also a little bit banged up.
Yeah, in a very niche role. It's kind of the combo we have with Woody Marks all the time. This is somebody you could see on the field as a pass-catching back and a good route tree. He's not a guy that's just catching dump-offs. He can run angle routes, wheel routes. He's explosive. But he's somebody, too, that's on the smaller side. He's been banged up this summer, like you said, where you're going to need an explosive play for him to be viable in your flex spot. So I think this is a real wait and see. I would imagine more so in that third down role in middle of October is when we're talking about him more. It's going to be bits and flashes for now.
Yeah, and also the Cowboys offense can be really good and really explosive, and the running back not that involved. When Dak finished second in MVP 2 years ago, Tony Pollard had like a really down year by his standards and expectations. So I think the Cowboys looking explosive, it happens much more through the passing game.
Yeah. So I think somewhere in the week 4 to 6 range, just to answer your question, Julio, is what we're expecting. But obviously, keep your eye on it. I do like him as an end of the bench stash.
Kaleb Johnson, another running back, kind of with a similar projection. Listen, the Jets-Steelers, it's the lowest total of week 1 right now. It's 38.5 is the over-under, and that's gone down. It was even a point higher than this a while ago. So not a lot of points expected in this game, Matthew, but more concerning to me with Kaleb Johnson is the Steelers' usage or desired usage of Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell over him this summer.
Kaleb Johnson played behind both guys during the preseason. The initial depth chart, which we always didn't put a ton of stock in, but for what it's worth, the initial depth chart that the Steelers released for week 1 has Kaleb Johnson as the number 3 running back behind Warren and Gainwell. It's a tough matchup, as you mentioned, against the Jets. They allowed the 5th fewest yards to opposing running backs last year, low total here, and this is an Aaron Rodgers thing. Kaleb Johnson is somebody that didn't come into the pros as somebody that you think is really great at pass protection.
There's a real one-year starter and a great year, but he was the guy for that one big year and then left.
Right, and just traditionally, it has been tough for a rookie running back to get on the field with Aaron Rodgers. Like, you have to earn trust with Aaron Rodgers, and so given how run-heavy they want to be and given the influence we expect Rodgers to have in that building, I can imagine it makes sense why he likes Warren and Gainwell, the 2 veteran running backs that have been in the league for a number of years, why he would like them over Kaleb Johnson. I just don't know how so I'm closing it out just to be official here. I'm closing it out. He's also going to be like kind of a barely top 40 play for me this week. Maybe he falls into the end zone and you get lucky, but you're looking at a 3-headed monster that he's on the wrong side of in a tough matchup here. You know, welcome to an Arthur Smith offense once again. I've said this all preseason. It is going to drive people crazy how much Kenneth Gainwell and Jonnu Smith plays in this Pittsburgh Steelers offense when everyone's like, where's Kaleb Johnson and DK Metcalf?
Yes.
I'm just telling you, it's going to drive people crazy. Welcome to Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I think a lot of the fantasy value around the Steelers is going to depend on, in the red zone, Aaron Rodgers last year, despite the offense not being super high octane, Aaron Rodgers threw the ball inside the 20 at the 3rd highest rate in the league.
Checked out of run plays nonstop.
Only Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow threw the ball over expectation more than Aaron Rodgers. So what's it going to look like at the goal line? Is Kaleb Johnson going to even get carries, or is Aaron Rodgers going to be checking out, which he's done his whole career? I think there's just a ton of uncertainty. They just signed Jaylen Warren to an extension. He's the guy.
By the way, they paid him real money too.
Right.
Like that's real running back money.
High praise for him after the extension.
That's like in Tony Pollard range kind of money.
They're talking about him as the featured back, and the usage for Gainwell and Johnson will wax and wane a bit. Jaylen Warren set at 12.5 rushing attempts on DraftKings. I think he'll get 13 carries in this game.
I think so as well. And Connor, I just want to ask you about just the Rodgers comment, checking out of plays at the goal line. How much of that last year with the Jets do you think was his connection with Javonte Adams, who just, they had such a mind meld, especially in close? How much of was that, or him padding the stats, or just the fact that he just didn't believe in the run game the way he did with Davante Adams? I guess pushing it forward, do you think that same scenario happens this year with DK Metcalf?
I do.
And Jonnu Smith?
And I do think there was a Davante aspect to it, but he also checked out of runs and would throw to Xavier Gibson. So it was like you're looking around and like, okay, he just wants to throw touchdowns at this point. And didn't trust the line to punch it in. So, yeah, I think it's something that will in some capacity continue. Jack Reacher said Arthur Smith doesn't look at KJ the way he looks at Jonnu Smith.
No one looks at anyone the way Arthur Smith looks at Jonnu Smith. I love my wife. We've been together 17 years. I don't look at her the way that Arthur Smith looks at Jonnu Smith.
Special connection.
Yeah. For example, I was at your wedding. I saw how you looked at Kristen. You had love in your eyes.
It's not the same.
But not the same.
No.
We'll
admit it.
Not the same at all. Do you think that's the actual Jack Reacher?
Yeah, I don't think so.
We've had some names in the comment section that we're wondering.
He's kind of a badass, that Jack Reacher.
We're wondering if you're the real people.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.